board meeting to order. Let's see, Commissioner Albritton, would you, not Albritton, yeah? Yeah. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right. Yes, we do have people joining us by Zoom this morning or watching on YouTube. So let us go around and introduce ourselves, or should I introduce everyone? I'm Pat Gerard, Pinellas County Commission.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council.
Dan Saraki, Council Member, City of Oldsmar.
Pinellas County Commissioner.
Oh,
Jeff Gow, Commissioner, City of Dunedin.
Michael Fdot, Gulfport City Councilman, recently re-elected.
Jamie Robinson, City of Largo.
David Albritton, Vice Mayor, Clearwater.
Josh Schulman, City of St. Petersburg.
Janet Long, Pinellas County Commissioner, District 1.
okay, and we have Richard Bennett from North Reddington Beach representing our beach communities on Zoom. Also, Deborah Figg Sanders representing St. Petersburg, who's also on Zoom this morning. In order to allow our two board members joining us by Zoom, I need a motion to. Thank you. Did you get those? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, even though we are all appropriately distanced here, I'd like you to please take note of the sign and please keep your masks on throughout the meeting. We have a number of board members that have asked me to request this, not only as the safe thing to do, but to set a good example for our organization and our community. So thank you. Let's see. Now's the time for public comment on consent agenda items or items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a public comment?
We have no public comment.
Okay, nobody online, nobody in the lobby. Okay. All right, this morning we have a presentation in honor of March being both, I'm sorry, what? Excuse me. Can I turn you on?
There we go. We did receive one emailed public comment just before the meeting, a written comment, and it's very short, so I'll just quickly read it. It's about the paratransit program last month. Really sad how you're going to pass disabled people to be transported by a taxi company. Have you seen their reviews and nightmares before CareRide took over? A shame not caring how disabled people get transported. Should have your own fleet like Disney, Pasco County, Hillsborough County, and Lynx. Waste of taxpayers' money. Should really consider other options. They're not equipped to handle disabled people. And this person did not give their name, but we have emailed them back to highlight how it's not the old taxi system that they remember. It's a new dedicated fleet that we have, so it's a little bit different. And I think we got a positive response back from the customer. But I just wanted to read that.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. This morning we have a presentation in honor of March being both Women's History Month and Transit Driver Appreciation Month. Whitney Fox, our Marketing and Communications Director, will take us through the presentation. Whitney?
Hi, good morning, Chair and esteemed board members. As Chair Gerard mentioned, this month we've been running a digital campaign celebrating Women's History Month. And with everything that's happened this past year, we wanted to take this opportunity to really honor the women specifically working the front lines at PSTA and tell their stories. Last week, we also celebrated Transit Driver Appreciation Day at PSTA as well. So this video really honors all of the above. So without further ado, here's Vivian, a female bus operator for PSTA, and her story.
My name is Vivian Rodriguez. My dad worked for New York City Transit. He was a mechanic of buses. He was the one who told me, if you get your license, I'll get you a car. I was so determined. I was like, let's take these road tests. I prayed for them to call me. He said, hang in there, they'll call her eventually. They'll get to it. My mom's the one who worries. I'm proud to be a female on the front lines at PSTA. I thank God every day for this job. I really do, because there's so many people suffering out there, so many people out of work, so many people that are struggling. We have to be grateful. We have to be very grateful that we're still here breathing and living. For a female bus driver, I would say, don't sweat the small stuff. Just worry about your bus, worry about driving, like that's the most important thing. Safety is the most important thing. Focus on the positive and not on the negative. My female idol was my grandmother. Her and my grandfather were together for 50 years. You all used to get together at her house. I miss her very, very much. When I first started, I said there's angels at PSTA. Thank you for everything that you've done for me. Thank you for being there for me.
All right,
Nice.
very nice. Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank community health centers for coming out and doing vaccinations with our staff for the last 3 Mondays, I guess, in a row. So that was very nice of them. Let's see. Now Transportation Director Jeff Thompson will introduce a great long-term employee of PSTA, Mr. Ramon Lorias, who is retiring after 32 years of service. Jeff?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Girard, and good morning, board members. My name is Jeff Thompson, Director of Transportation. It's my pleasure to present to you this morning Ramon Larios, a bus operator for PSTA since April 9th, 1989. Ramon is retiring on April 5th, 2021, with 32 years of dedicated service and 22 years in counting of safe driving. Now, Ramon started as a PSTA part-time operator for $5.99 an hour back in '89. And he has 2 grown sons. One is working for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office currently, and his other son is a U.S. Army colonel who is currently stationed in South Korea. Ramon is really doing something interesting after he leaves PSTA. He's moving on to business management as the next chapter in his life, and eventually planning on moving to Costa Rica, where he's going to help run a business that, catch this, produces fish like salmon, tilapia, and whiting. So that was a very interesting perspective he gave me on how that happens. Anyway, congratulations, Ramon, and thank you very much for all the thousands of miles and the many decades of service that you provided to the residents and our customers here at PSTA. We will miss you, and we wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you, Ramon. And you have a comment. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I want to say thank you to all of you out there. Good morning. It's been a pleasure being part of PSTA. I feel good here. In fact, I should be happy because I'm leaving, but I'm almost sad because I have all these beautiful people that I work with. Thank you for everything that PSTA have done for me. I felt good here. I still do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ramon. We wish you the best. And thank you, board members. Back to you, Chair Girard.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Ramon. Okay. All right. We will now receive updates from the recent Track, Forward Pinellas, and TWARDA meetings. Duncan, we will start with you, followed by Janet Long giving the Forward Pinellas report and Renee Flowers giving the TWARDA report. So Duncan, are you there somewhere?
Hello, here I am.
You are? Okay.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Girard, Mr. Miller, board members. Track, we met March 23rd. virtually using Zoom. We're still being COVID cautious. Many of our members, as you guys know, are the most vulnerable. And so we're probably going to be the last group on earth to finally meet in person when we finally can. Although, because we meet virtually, we cannot vote on action items, we're still being kept in the loop. We appreciate that. We provide our feedback and support. We make ourselves available to public input like any other group, any virtual, so the public can call in. We just don't have votes. Our members also cross-participate in the Forward Pinellas, the Psta, so we're a very active group. Just remember, the only thing we aren't doing is meeting face-to-face. This last month, we had 3 main topics, stuff you guys know about. We were briefed on the AVA project downtown, and it's also the expansion to Dunedin and Clearwater. Our group fully supported the pilot program. In particular, from our perspective, the fact that it is accommodating disabled riders. TRAC, you know, is a champion for disabled riders in almost everything we do when we're looking at whether it's a bus stop, driver courtesy, everything about that is a function of very interest to us. So AVA really caught our attention how flexible it is for disabled riders. We learned about the I-275 bus on shoulder program. Again, great support from our committee, great idea. And finally, once again, we talked about our own internal TRAC STAR program. You guys must know about this. You get more honey than vinegar. So often we find ourselves complaining that the community is not being transit rider centric. So we created this award. Anytime anyone does something good, we run out and give them a certificate and a warm handshake. And so for our new members, our committee's turned over. We were teaching them again about keeping their eye out. As I say, BOLO, be on the lookout for anybody doing anything good for transit riders and pedestrian safety. While I'm here, let me thank Brad for giving us a long presentation. Thank you so much about the Psta vaccinations. The program in partnership with Pinellas Community Health. It was good information. And by the way, it was great work that Psta was doing. It almost would have slipped under the rug. So Brad, really thank you for that information. All of us were real happy to hear that. Our next TRAC meeting is April 20th at 4 o'clock. And as always, board members are welcome to come. We're really proud of the work you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Duncan. Commissioner Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Turn your microphone on.
Oh, yep.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. The Forward Pinellas Board held its meeting on March 10th, and the board approved an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Plan to incorporate PSTA's purchase of two new electric buses and a new depot charging station. The board also approved a resolution to support the Safe Streets Pinellas Action Plan. The Safe Streets Pinellas is the Forward Pinellas Vision Zero effort. We're also seeking support for this initiative to get to zero deaths and serious injuries on our transportation network, and will present this program to the PSTA board in the near future. Forward Pinellas formally expressed opposition to House Bill 1113 concerning the modification or removal of rectangular rapid flashing beacons at mid-block pedestrian crosswalks, as well as to House Bill 55, which prohibits design standards for single and duplex housing, creating a barrier to integrating infill development. The Forward Pinellas Waterborne Transportation Committee will meet on this Friday at 1 p.m., and the primary presentation will be PSTA's advancement of federal and state grant opportunities. The board approved a scope of services for waterborne travel demand forecasting. This project will be conducted in partnership with PSTA and the Florida Department of Transportation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Flowers, T. Barta.
We had an opportunity to meet on last Friday, March 26th, and it was a special joint meeting between the Finance Committee and the Policy Committee. I want to thank those two chairs for a very fruitful meeting. The impetus was to discuss the legislation that was being introduced by Senator Brandeis related to the dissolution of T-BARTA. The discussion points were as follows. The Executive Director, David, indicated that by streamlining some organizational costs, we'd be able to certainly save some money and sustain ourselves beyond fiscal year 2022. T-BARTA is looking to develop a strong partnership with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. David really felt very strongly, and so did a number of the members of the board, that there would be improved communication and coordination with all local jurisdictions. After the legislative session is over, we hope to have additional discussion on the partnership and how it will take place. And I think we all understand that it's all about collaboration. Also, there was a primary focus to develop action plans on advanced transit concepts, such as having T-BARTA use its federal funds to purchase buses, preferably environmentally sustainable ones that we've been doing, to be used in regional public transit. The idea is that this would align with the regional corridors and help to provide data for the future creation of a regional rapid transit line. There were two actions that were taken. They were taken separately. The first action was to adopt the requests that were coming from the Executive Director to assure that T-BARTA, in fact, would be able to continue beyond 2022 without the possibility of any funding from the state of Florida. And then the second, and that passed unanimously. And the second action was that we maintain the legislative requests that T-BARTA has with the state legislature as it relates to continuing the funding of T-BARTA. That was also passed unanimously. And that was the end of our report.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. Do we have any questions about any of those reports? No. Okay. All right, on to the consent agenda. Now, are there any items that need to be pulled? No. Okay, I will entertain a motion then.
Move approval.
I'll move that the consent agenda be approved.
Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Long, second from Commissioner Bennett. Can you pull up the voting system? I guess that's what we're doing. I'm sorry. We're going to roll call them afterwards. Mr. Fridovich, did you have something? Oh, okay, thanks. All right. Please vote on your voting system. And Commissioner Bennett and Big Sanders, how do you vote? Commissioner Bennett? Are you there?
Yes, Deborah Fig Sanders votes yes.
Okay, how about Commissioner Bennett?
Commissioner Bennett votes yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that is unanimous. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I forgot to count. All right. That was unanimous then, okay. All right, action items, FY20 audit report, Debbie Leos.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today I have the pleasure of presenting the draft comprehensive annual financial report that was unanimously approved by the Finance Committee to bring to the full board. Today's action item is to accept the report for fiscal 2020. We have always done very well in these audits, and this year has been no exception. Matter of fact, no has been the operative word. We had no material weaknesses, no audit findings, no management comments, no deficiencies in internal controls that were noted. This is also the first year that we have had Cherry Beckert as our auditors. And every time you have new auditors, it's always a challenge for both the auditor and the auditee. But I think it's gone very smoothly, and I'd like to turn it over to Julie Lupus, our Director of Accounting, to talk a little bit about that. And I also want to congratulate her and the entire finance team on a fine job on this year's audit. Julie?
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to take this opportunity to say how really well the audit went this year. With it being a first-year audit and a new firm and a pandemic, well, I was initially concerned. Cherry Beckert was awesome to work with, accommodating, on task, thorough, and available anytime we needed them, which are all things I ask for in an auditing firm. And a shout out to our entire finance department who came together in a pandemic to give the auditors anything they asked for. We truly do try to do it right all the time. And with that, I'd like to introduce Lauren Stroup, Audit Director for Cherry Beckert, to talk about the Psta Fiscal Year 20 audit.
Thank you so much, Julie. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to share the results of the audit of the financial statements for the year ended September 30th, 2020. I am Lauren Stroup, and I served as the director of this audit engagement. I was able to meet with the Finance Committee on March 24th, and this presentation will provide a brief summary of the discussion with that committee. We have completed our audit and plan to issue the reports right after this meeting. We actually followed 3 opinions to perform this audit, and as everyone mentioned, all were unmodified or no comment reports and otherwise clean opinions and the only type of opinion that you really want. Please note that the generally accepted auditing standards letter does have an emphasis of matter paragraph in it this year. That does not take away from the fact that you received a clean audit opinion. The emphasis of matter paragraph simply directs the reader to a footnote that discusses some of the uncertainty related to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is not specific to PSTA. We also plan to issue a Florida management letter and compliance report over investment policies. Both are required by the State of Florida Auditor General. Both will be clean reports. After we complete after the issuance of the report, we will be completing the data collection form and submitting the NTD AUP report later this week as well. We are pleased to report that there were no audit adjustments or proposed audit adjustments that were passed by management, and we had no internal control related findings to discuss with you today. So in other words, clean opinions all the way around. I did want to point out that as a result of COVID-19, there was a delay in the issuance of new standards by the GASB, and that's the board that promulgates the accounting standards that you follow. So there were no changes in the accounting policy from year over year. And with that, on the last slide, this is my contact information. I welcome any and all questions. Thank you so much for the ability to serve as your auditor this year, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Lauren. Do we have any questions about the audit? It's hard to question a clean audit. Are you sure? Just kidding. All right. Thank you very much. All right, and congratulations, Debbie and staff.
Thank you very much. And of course, today's action item is to accept this exceptional report this year. And I would welcome someone to make a motion.
Right.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please bring up the voting thing. I missed how many that was, but Commissioner Bennett?
Commissioner Bennett votes yes.
Commissioner Fig Sanders?
Commissioner Fig Sanders votes yes.
Thank you. That is unanimous. All right. Next, we have a funding agreement with Fdot for Bus on the Shoulder project.
A very good morning to you, Madam Chair and board members. This is Abhishek Dayal, Director of Project Management, and I'm joined by Kessia Harris, Assistant Project Manager in my group. So this morning, this discussion is about a unique partnership with Florida Department of Transportation. This is a I-275 bus on shoulder pilot project. If you've recently driven down I-275, you might have seen some signs that call for buses authorized to be on the shoulder of 275, and that's what we have worked with Fdot on more recently. And today's action item is a funding agreement. Upon approval, we would receive funding from Fdot to promote the safety aspects of this project. So to tell you more about this project, I'm going to turn it over to Kessia Harris, who's been the lead for us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kessia.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Kessia Harris, and I will tell you a little bit more about the I-275 Bus on Shoulder pilot project and how it works. So Bus on Shoulder is a concept that allows the bus to ride on the shoulder, whereby bypassing traffic on the freeway. It helps assist the bus to maintain the agency's set schedule, and this concept has been proven and successfully demonstrated in other parts of the country, such as Minneapolis and Raleigh, North Carolina. Psta and Fdot have partnered to bring this concept to Pinellas County. A portion of the I-275 freeway was chosen, and Psta bus can now use a designated portion of the shoulder. This will help maintain Psta's bus schedule, and this will help maintain Psta's bus schedule, and this will also help connect riders from Tampa to St. Pete using the Route 100X. So the buses can utilize the shoulder whenever the speed has been reduced to less than 35 miles per hour. The buses are allowed to use the shoulder, but by no more than 15 miles per hour. So for instance, if the mainline traffic has been reduced to 0 miles per hour, the bus on the shoulder can now utilize the shoulder at 15 miles per hour. And we would like to start this pilot by June of 2021. So in terms of the project limits, the project will run between 22nd Avenue North to Gandhi Boulevard. Fdot has placed 4 ramp signals at the 4 locations at 54th Avenue North, 38th Avenue North as part of the pilot. So how does it work? They have the ramp signals are placed along the ramp to help mitigate or to help control the flow of traffic onto the freeway, to the ramp, and it helps stop traffic from entering. Once the bus has reached near the ramp, the red signals are going to come on, which will help stop the traffic from flowing into the freeway, and it would help the bus drive across safely onto the shoulder. Fdot has recognized the importance of alerting motorists of the pilot and have ensured that they have placed signs along the freeway to ensure that motorists are aware of the pilot. And you will see these signs along both I-275 as well as on the ramps. Psta Safety, Security, and Training know the importance of training and have launched extensive classroom and road training prior to June launch. Specialized wraps will be placed on these buses, and in fact, Fdot, Psta, and Florida Highway Patrol have had multiple reviews to ensure that the bus wraps convey the important information that the buses are authorized to use the shoulder. If you, when you look on the back of the bus, you will notice there will be signs that says it is illegal to follow the bus on the shoulder, and this bus is authorized to use the shoulder, as well as with the state statute on there. So we understand this is a new concept to the motorists. That is why we have partnered with Fdot to do extensive public outreach in the form of public information through billboards, for billboard messaging, which will have messages from Fdot on there, as well as dynamic messages with Fdot safety messages on there. And we will also utilize other community messaging tools such as social media ad buys, drive time radio, PSTA websites, and promotional videos. The funding agreement with Fdot will assist with public education and awareness initiative for this pilot. The agreement to receive the funds from Fdot is for 3 years and an amount not to exceed $80,000. We recommend to approve this funding agreement for us to receive $80,000 from Fdot for this bus on shoulder pilot project in an amount not to exceed $80,000. The planning committee have unanimously approved this action item and recommends the board approval. Thank you. Back to you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Kessia. And as Kessia mentioned, we do plan on running this unique service in early June. And so essentially, we would like to do a ceremony with Fdot. And so the board members will be receiving a save the date tentatively for June 4th. So therefore, more information will be coming through to you. And then I guess back to you, Chair Gerard, for any questions or a motion.
All right, thank you, Abhishek. Do we have any questions about this?
Chairman Gerard, I have a question, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bennett.
I want to know what the protocol might be when there's a car exiting I-275 at the same time there's a bus crossing the exit on the shoulder.
That's a great question, Commissioner Bennett. We did discuss that in a lot of detail with Fdot and Florida Highway Patrol on what takes precedent. And the way we've also talked to similar systems who have done this kind of operations, North Carolina in particular. And the way it's going to work is as the car is exiting the freeway, the car would have the preference to exit the freeway at the off ramps, and the bus will actually let the cars through so that there's minimal conflict as the cars are exiting.
So our bus drivers are going to know that if there's a car exiting the freeway, the car has the right of way.
That is correct. We'll be including that as part of
And the
training.
bus will slow down or stop.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
That just looks like a dangerous situation to me. When you're exiting the freeway, you don't look over your right shoulder because you have the right of way. I just hope there's not a bus there when I'm exiting the freeway.
And again, that's a very valid point. We do want to make that case to our drivers and essentially have them look over their left side to make sure there aren't any cars
Abby, if I may,
the freeway. Yes, James.
if I may, the pilot, when it gets going, and the traffic will be at a crawl whenever we use the shoulder, the buses are going to be trained and taught to retake the lane. So they're not going to cross the exit ramp at the bottom. They will be in traffic as a way to block and make sure that that doesn't happen. And then once they pass the exit, then they'll re-enter the shoulder. That's the plan.
Okay, thank you, James. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you. On one of the slides here on the PowerPoint, it has the picture of the bus on shoulder. There's an actual photo to demonstrate what this looks like. And I'm assuming, since it says demonstrated in Minneapolis and North Carolina, it shows the bus actually on the left.
Yeah.
So Sorry, without any other visuals here, I'm having a hard time visualizing what this is going to look like here.
Yes, Commissioner, you're correct. The photo that we did include in the slide, I believe that is from Minneapolis, and they actually use the left side of the shoulder or the left side of the freeway. However, we will be utilizing the right side of the freeway because it just makes it easier for buses to weave in and out of the general purpose lane as well as on the right side of the shoulder. But you are correct, that is a little different from what was shown on the photo.
Okay, that just made it a little confusing, but now I understand that, you know, it's specifically just going to be on the right and not on the left shoulder at any time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Cox. For some reason, you're not. Try that again. Yeah. Okay.
Me?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just, excuse me, I want to make a comment, and this is an initial beginning for what I know Commissioner Long has long spoken about, to have the service from Wesley Chapel down to St. Pete, the 41 miles, but this is just like the seed right here. And I'm very, very pleased with this too. We're making some good progress on regionality, which is truly important here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, do we have anybody in the lobby who would like to comment?
We have no public comment.
Okay, all right then. Mr. Zimmet, could you read the resolution, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. It's Resolution 2101, a resolution of the Pinellas and Coast Transit Authority approving the public transportation grant agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation Commuter Assistance Program, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute the Public Transportation Grant Agreement, FPN 412-533-18421, including any supplemental agreements or amendments, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to furnish additional information as the Department of Transportation may require, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who that was. Did you get it? Okay. And Commissioner Long. Okay, please open the voting system. Oh, there we go. Okay, and Commissioner Fig-Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Bennett?
I vote no.
Okay, we have 13-1. Motion carries. All right. I'm sorry, what? Yes.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to highlight, you might say this has been, Kessia did a great job presenting for the first time, and this has been her baby, but she is actually having a baby in just a few weeks. So she's got 2 major projects going.
All right. Oh, congratulations.
Great job.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have information items. We have a 10-year Jolly Trolley agreement coming up that Brad would like to talk about. And
okay.
Now you can talk.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So this morning, we're kind of going back to a practice that we did in the past, and I was appreciative of Commissioner Schulman talking to me after last month's board meeting, where we had a lot of questions come up at the board meeting about our paratransit contract, and suggest maybe we just need more time for people to ask questions on major items. So we're doing that for this item related to the Jolly Trolley. Today is just an informational presentation to you. Feel free to ask any questions that you have about this proposal and then we'll come back next month, first going to the Finance Committee and then to the board for adoption of a new 10-year contract with the Jolly Trolley. So, and I think on the Zoom this morning, in addition to James Bradford, our Chief Operating Officer, who's going to help me with this presentation, I believe Rosemary Windsor, the Executive Director of the Jolly Trolley, might be with us as well to answer any questions. The Jolly Trolley approached PSTA and asked for a long-term extension so that they could get bank financing to build a new operating facility in Clearwater. They've been working with the city of Clearwater to get a new facility for a while now, and the city is assisting with them by providing them land that they, on a long-term agreement with Jolly Trolley. And so now they're looking to have bank financing to build their facility this summer. That's why we're bringing this forward to you. Just like the paratransit agreement, anytime that there are major capital expenses in an agreement, it benefits PSTA to extend that agreement out over a longer period of time. That way we save money by spreading out those capital costs. And more recently, in recent years, the federal government has really increased the flexibility for transit systems like PSTA in having these longer term agreements, because they recognize they make sense when you're dealing with major capital investments like an operation. PSTA, and before PSTA, the city of Clearwater have had an amazing, nearly 40-year relationship with the Jolly Trolley organization. It is a very, very popular service, especially this time of year. It's incredibly popular at spring break on Clearwater Beach. And it is one of the services that all of us are most proud of. It provides a great service in Pinellas County. In recent years, especially during our current contract with Jolly Trolley, it's been increasing in its coordination and integration with the rest of the transit system. So the fares, fare collection, the technology, the apps that you can look at to see where your vehicles come, now that is all getting integrated for the first time between the Jolly Trolley services on the beach and then people getting to the beach on other services. In addition, the Jolly Trolley operates our north coastal route, which goes up through Dunedin to Tarpon Springs. And that takes a lot of tourists, but it also takes a lot of workers and school kids and lots of other people too. So it's a mainline service that we rely on with the partnership with Jolly Trolley. So we thought this was a good idea. They needed a new facility. We want to keep this relationship going. So let me pass it off to James Bradford, our Chief Operating Officer, who is the manager over the Jolly Trolley contract, to give you more details.
Thank you, Brad, and good morning to Chair Gerard and our PSA board members. So if you look to the map of near downtown Clearwater, and I know it's a bit hard to see, but this is just for reference, you'll see that the Jolly Trolley headquarters is currently located just north of downtown Clearwater along Myrtle Avenue there. Jolly Trolley needs to move their current location. The land they're on now will soon be redeveloped. So besides, it's also really too small for their current fleet of trolleys. There's limited space for parking for both employee and their fleet, and they're largely unable to perform routine maintenance work tasks on this parcel. In fact, they're spread out along 2 different addresses along Myrtle Avenue right now, just for parking and maintenance's sake alone. The overall daily operations is hampered in this location, including their dispatch and operator communications. And so they're finally moving to a more optimal location, one which will much better fit their needs and greatly support the desired flow of their daily operational needs and other things that they have to do. Jolly Trolley has an agreement with the city of Clearwater on a new parcel of land to build a more modern garage north along Overbrook Avenue. And I'll cue you on the next slide, not there yet, but leave it there for now. So as you can see, a little bit better in the picture here, it's a much larger parcel of land that is owned by the city of Clearwater next to their fire station. The city has agreed to a 25-year long-term lease with Jolly Trolley, including offering the Jolly Trolley a $0 cost for the first 10 years of this deal. So now Jolly Trolley is working out financing the construction for a proper maintenance facility with bays, vehicle lifts, fuel pumps, and of course, offices and break room areas to support what will be their modern day operation, of which I know the employees of Jolly Trolley will be thrilled. So this led to Jolly Trolley approaching Psta to see if we could assist them in this endeavor by working out a longer term agreement to be secured in place now, but go into effect after our current agreement ends later next year at the end of FY22 or around September 30th, 2022. The very most important part of all of this is that Jolly Trolley asked us to consider approving this longer term service agreement so that in the spring, it will enable them to secure a sizable enough bank loan in order to begin the construction on their new state-of-the-art garage, hopefully starting as soon as this summer 2021. Next slide, please. We've already begun working on the terms for this longer-term agreement, and we're still negotiating the exact scope, with the main focus being on increasing the flexibility within this agreement so we can be even more collaborative between our two agencies. This would mean for things such as updated smart fare processes that's coming soon, GPS technology for our customer-based real-time software, and more, allowing for all the different customer-facing informational apps to work seamlessly between Psta, Jolly Trolley, soon Looper, and more to make things much easier for our Pinellas riders. But generally, the way things are looking, there are no major proposed changes to our overall partnership arrangement. And we, Psta, plan to continue to pay Jolly Trolley per each revenue service hour as we do now for the services and the trolley services that they operate, providing service along the beaches and in North County across 3 routes. So both sides really benefit by locking in these cost adjustments over a longer period of time. Next slide, please. During last week's PSA's planning committee meeting, Commissioner Schulman asked us to outline in a bit more detail what the proposed changes to the current agreement will be. In your board packets today is a copy of PSA's detailed current agreement. As you can see on this chart, we are primarily updating the agreement to the practices we are following with the partnership currently today. Where you see federal requirements, we're not using federal funds, so the federal requirement clauses can be deleted. We are collaborating on all technology projects to make it easier on all of our customers, and as such, the agreement will reflect that. Other collaborations for this new scope will be modeled after our new and recent paratransit agreement, which you all saw last month. Things like bulk purchasing of the fuel will result in Psta purchasing the fuel for Jolly Trolley and thereby saving money along the way, along hopefully other opportunities. When we have the final agreement ironed out next month, which we should, we will present it in much more detail with a side-by-side comparison for you, the board, to see. But right now, I'd like to ask the Jolly Trolley Chief Executive Officer, Rosemary Windsor, and her Jolly Trolley board member, Bob Clifford, to go ahead and unmute themselves and turn on their cameras. So we may take a bit of time right now to answer any questions that you all may have regarding this informational item before we work on it some more and bring it back to you next month for approval. And with that, we'll stop it there. You can bring us to the next slide, and we'll take any questions anyone may have.
Do we have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Cox. Okay, it looks like, actually,
There.
Commissioner Schulman got in ahead of you.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead. That's why it wasn't working.
Thank you. I'm quick on the button there. Question about the slide showed that Psta is going to be paying for the fuel for Jolly Trolley. Are we expecting a reduction in the cost per revenue hour to offset that? Are we just going to absorb that as an additional cost? What is the current thought process on that?
Brad, do you want to answer that one?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Schulman. Right, just like we did on the paratransit, we will see a savings that will come out of the Jolly Trolley payment, and it'll come into Psta. And the thought is that we can, by buying in bulk, we can net Probably not an enormous amount of savings, but some savings.
So we expect to see a reduction from the current schedule in revenue hours?
Yeah, because we'll be paying for the fuel on our side, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cox? You should be.
Press it again.
I did.
There it is. Oh.
No, I did it.
I'm back.
Okay.
My question, Mr. Bradford,
The names are not right.
would be directed to you, and it's on the detailed fleet plan. Is our current contract proposed 10 years, a fleet replacement? My question more or less is about the low-floor trolleys that we have out in the lot now. Are any of those, have they gone into service, any of those into service yet?
No, we hope to get them out into service very soon in the next few weeks as we make sure they have all the updated technology in them.
Okay,
But
and
they should be making a debut on the Central Avenue trolley and the Suncoast Beach trolley, hopefully by early summer.
And their capacity, what are their capacity, passenger capacity?
I believe it's anywhere between 32 and 35 seated. I'll have to double check that. And then, of course, once we start to get back to increasing our capacity, then there's an additional, 10 to 15 for standing.
Right.
That would be available as well.
And they have bicycle racks as well, is that correct?
I believe, yes, they will have.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will have, if they don't out there now.
That's the end of my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Saraki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question in regards to the Clearwater lease. I think that's absolutely wonderful that the city of Clearwater is allowing them to have that property lease-free for 10 years. My question is who is going to be responsible for that lease? City of is the PSTA going to be paying for that, or is the trolley going to be paying for it after 10 years?
I can answer that. Right now, we are already in year one of the lease with the city of Clearwater. It is a lease that is between the city and the Jolly Trolley, and there will be no responsibility or burden put back onto PSTA as far as the negotiations or what the contract states.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. And what is the cost of that lease? Do we have that?
It will adjust after 10 years based on 50% of current market value of the land.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Commissioner Long, did you have something?
I did.
Yeah, I just disappeared you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I have a lot of questions. I'm just not quite sure how to frame them. But I'm curious about what type of fuel the Jolly Trolley runs on.
We currently run about 50-50 between gasoline and diesel. All of the future purchases for us will probably be under a smart diesel. They will not be electric.
Well, that I have a problem with because that's not in conformity with our initiative to really focus on sustainable and resilient issues as it relates to our carbon footprint. And so I would really like to know why the focus is on diesel and not on electric.
It's strictly a costing issue. We could certainly look at purchasing the fleet all being electric. It would just change the proposal to reflect the cost of the vehicles.
Well, I think we either pay now or we pay later in terms of our climate and our environment. And there's only one planet, and the future looks very bleak if we cannot get control of this particular issue. So maybe, Brad, you'd like to speak to that? Because I know we have had very lengthy discussions on this board about the advantages of diesel versus electric and the cost savings over a period of time. and how it ends up, if you, especially given the partnership we've been able to put in place with Duke. I think it's very remiss on our part if we don't insist on moving to electric.
Gosh, maybe because you're sitting next to me, you read my mind, because we are working on a new section of the agreement that I think we have, or we want to even improve it from the one that we wrote for the paratransit, where we have the flexibility that perhaps in the future we can say, if we can access grants and capital funding to purchase zero-emission electric trolleys, or we can, just like paratransit, if we can purchase the vehicles for a lower cost or get a grant for those, then we can see a savings in what we pay, what Jolly bills us, because we're providing the vehicles. And then that way, it is our goal to have 100% of our vehicles ultimately become electric or zero emission. And so we want that flexibility as we go forward, because as you say, the grant opportunities that we have are far greater, and it's the right thing to do, is to move to more and more efficient, zero emission kind of vehicles. I will say that all those riders on the beach, they are not driving in their car, so they are saving emissions even when they ride in the current Jolly Trolleys back and forth instead. But yes, that is our goal.
I have a follow-up, Madam Chair, please. Yes? All right, so, thank you. That, with all due respect, Brad, and you know I mean that dearly.
Commissioner,
That is not.
Can you put your mask on, please?
Well, I can't.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I couldn't disagree with you more in terms of not getting a solid commitment from Jolly Trolley to move in this direction, and here's why. There are $16 billion coming down from the feds with regard to transportation and clean energy. And I promise you, the three things that the Federal Department of Transportation is looking at is economic, I've forgotten the word, just give me 1 minute to look at there's three of them. It's economic opportunity, racial equity opportunity, and the third one is electrification of public transportation options. So if we want those dollars, I promise you that's the focus that we need to be working on. And until we are committed to that, I cannot support any initiative that isn't included in. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Saraki.
I already spoke.
Oh, Sabille, I'm sorry. The numbers are real, no? Okay. They're really tiny on here. Okay, Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Long. We need to be moving in the direction of environmental stewardship, and it is our responsibility to make every effort to move toward a better system that does incorporate electric into this. So I just want to signal my agreement with Commissioner Long that this should be placed at the highest priority, and that we should not move forward with this until we have that plan in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I agree with both Commissioner Long and Commissioner Driscoll that electrification is an important cause, it strikes me as odd, about a year or so ago, we purchased for ourselves about a dozen or more Central Avenue trolleys that were gas-powered and not electrified. So I realize that there might be additional funding sources that are now coming, but I appreciate Brad's move to work into the agreement incentives as those things become available. And I'm sure Jolly Trolley would be interested in cost savings that can come their way through that procedure as well. But I'm reluctant to require a third party to do what we weren't willing to do ourselves.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Yes. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry. It's just a habit to unleash it to talk. For the PSTA's provision for technology, Brad, do you have any idea of what the current costs are for the service that we're providing, supporting them with technology, and then any incremental increases in that for the 10-year contract?
What kind of technology are you asking about?
On the slide that was provided to us that's showing the current contract service provisions and then the 10-year contract, excuse me, under the current contract, it says some equipment by Jolly Trolley, but under the new proposed contract, it says that PSTA will provide all future technology. Do you have a dollar?
Right. That's just highlighting the fact that when we signed this contract back in 2017, it had very specific details about what technology items on the vehicles Jolly Trolley was responsible for buying, and then what items PSDA was going to buy and then give to put on the trolleys that they run for us. And it's turned out over the last 5 years that PSTA is pretty much just buying all of it and putting, because we want to integrate it with the rest of the transit system throughout Pinellas County, so it just makes sense to do that and not have them buy a separate, system of some kind. And so that's what the new language is, just being changed to reflect that Jolly Trolley has to work with PSPA. When we buy the technology and integrate it, they have to make their vehicles available for us to install the equipment and that kind of thing.
Okay. And I wasn't disagreeing with it. I just wanted to know what would be our costs or increased costs in that area, because that's what we were going to be doing, or we will be doing. And then my other question was going to be about the utilization of electric, or the integration of electric trolleys within all of the trolleys that we currently have, the ones that are here. When I took the tour, the ones that we're weaving into service. I do believe it's something that we can work towards, but I just think for getting this started, based on the stock that we have right now, we certainly should maybe emphasize that we would like to work towards electric or any type of zero emission vehicle, but utilizing what we have in stock right now, they're diesel. I don't want to see us kind of stop the performance, but I would love to see us continue to work towards that goal and maybe see if there will be some parameters by which they would work to achieve purchasing those electric vehicles, time certain date for implementing them into service, integrating them into service. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This would be addressed to Mr. Bradford, and as I reflect back on the decision to upgrade the fleet of the trolleys, where we were was there were many hundreds of thousands of miles on the current fleet of trolleys. Wasn't this about 2 years ago, Mr. Bradford, that we addressed this?
Yeah, that we started the discussions. They were reaching the end of their useful life. So we knew we had to replace them. And I think the other goal was to really kind of create that seamless look among all of our beach routes. So we moved from the what we had was the Gillig kind of dressed as a trolley, and to now just a full-blown trolley outfitted that's a little bit, more robust, it's a little bit bigger, and to really blend in with the same pewter and color scheme that Jolly Trolley has out there on our beach routes. If folks, a lot of our tourists, the folks that come out there, they love the trolley look and feel, and it's just, it's a real attraction. So in our attempt to really just be more seamless in that area and those routes, that's kind of what motivated us with our fleet that's hopefully gets out there, over the next few weeks or so.
And I believe during our discussion, we did discuss hybrid and electric, which weren't available at the time, and I know we had a need to get vehicles out there for the ones that were there. So we chose to, I think it was a grant we got for the trolleys we have out here. Am I not correct?
You're correct, that's right.
Yeah. So that's the reason we did that, with the intent, as Chair Long said, to eventually transition into more efficient type of vehicles, if I remember correctly. Mind you, this was 2 years ago. Thank you, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Cox. My recollection at the time was that, and the comment I made at the time was, do we need to be buying as many new trolleys? If we're just looking at replacing the fleet that was expiring, we can get a smaller number and then look to exchange those out in the future based on other technologies. And I'm not against the electrification. I'm very intrigued about grant money that might be coming. I just want to make sure that we don't require that they do something that we weren't willing to necessarily do. And it was just a couple years ago. We were already buying electric buses. It wasn't a new concept completely. That being said, I'm not sure if this is going back to planning or finance as the next stop. As a member of both of those committees, I appreciate the conversation we're having here on the informational item, and would definitely, if there's additional questions that come up later, to have them emailed to Brad, so they might be also ways to spur additional conversation at those committee levels when this makes its next stop. So for me, as a committee member on both of those committees, this was an incredibly helpful conversation, so I appreciate it.
Yes, Commissioner.
And Madam Chair, I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, so at the risk of being redundant, I told you at our last board meeting that Doyle and I and Harry Glenn were poised to have a conversation with the folks in DC at the Federal Department of Transportation. And we had that conversation, and I want to reiterate one more time. We will not qualify for federal funds if we're not focused on economic equity, racial equity, and electrification of our public buses. So while we may have made decisions 2 or 3 years ago, as Commissioner Schulman referenced, the world is a little bit of a different place today. There's a larger focus on these issues affecting our carbon footprint, and either we march on into the future or we fall further and further behind. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll report further on my conversation with the federal folks when we get to other business on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To expand on Commissioner Schulman's comments or question about the next steps for this, after it goes through the next committees and the conversation is had there, it might be helpful, and Brad, I talked to you about this a couple weeks ago, it might be helpful for us as a board to have the minutes of those committee meetings so we can understand what the conversation is. I know on a couple of our last issues that we've been talking about, there was not a whole lot of information as far as what was said in the committees, and I think that led to where we're at right now. So I think it might be helpful, again, just to have that information, the minutes, so we can, as a board, take a look at that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to speak in support of Commissioner Long's concerns and agree with her. I'm new to the board. I'm still learning the history of the board and the decisions that are made, and especially along the areas of sustainability. So I speak more from just the city of Dunedin, and the fact that one of our epic goals, that we call them, is to be a statewide leader in sustainability. We have reached a platinum level with green building certification. We have signed on for Ready for 100. We have incentives for our residents to move to solar, and I've heard comments from the residents specifically in reference to the trolley, asking why it's not electric. We are a coastal community, and it just, even the optic of having non-electric transportation within our coastal communities, I think speaks volumes. So if we can move toward electric, the residents of Dunedin would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Frdovich.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm playing catch-up as well, so my question is, what's the difference in cost between the electric and the diesel?
Yeah, I don't know how to.
If I had to guess, for the vehicles we run, I would have to say it's probably somewhere between 4 and 5 times as much. And I'm not sure if they are currently available.
Oh, well, what I was gonna say was, at the time when we made our purchase of trolley buses, I don't think they were available. I don't think all electric options were available at the time, but they are available now. I've seen a few out there, and as Commissioner Long says, as the priority and the technology advances, there's just gonna be more and more options out there, and the price difference is gonna go down. I don't think it is 4 to 5 times like Rosemary said. I think it's about $200,000 more. With all of the additional things the PSTA buys. And so if there are grant opportunities, I think we might be able to find some ways in which we might be able to get some electric vehicles. But as Commissioner Schulman, then I very much appreciate this opportunity to hear from the board. And I think Rosemary and I can work together over the next couple weeks before this comes back to present to you how we have a plan to get the trolleys that are on the beach just as zero emission as the rest of our fleet is going to be.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Frdovich?
What's the longevity of a trolley?
Rosemary, do you want to answer what the current ones, how long they last? How long you keep them?
I mean, we're running some of our older, which we don't have out on the routes right now, but I mean, these trolleys will last 10 to 15 years for us typically.
Thank you. Commissioner Saraki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to agree with Commissioner Robinson, Brad. I think it's important that for all the board members to understand the minutes that were from the financial committee meetings and the other meetings, but most of all, the votes, how the members vote. The city of Oldsmar does that, and I think that's important that we understand how the committees vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Albritton?
Thank you. I was surprised a year or so ago when my question was, how long do the batteries last on buses? And I was told 25 years, because I've had experiences with electric cars that don't last so long. So I think Clearwater 2 would also like to see that box checked as far as going a certain percentage into the electric. So I think it's something that we can discuss and see how we can work it in the agreement. But I just wanted to reiterate that this is an important agreement for Jolly Trolley to go out 10 years, and they've been, they've been a good partner with Psta, and I really support this 10-year agreement because they're really moving forward with their new property, and, you know, and they do need to make a decision soon that they can move forward with bank financing. So I think we could have a discussion on this and work it into that agreement somehow.
Okay, and I think we've made our wishes clear to staff that they can go back and work on the agreement. That's what this informational item was about, so that we could get that kind of input, and they'll go work on it. Yes, Commissioner Long.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And hearing Commissioner Albritton's comments made me remember, did you, hopefully you all saw the front page of the business section on Sunday that had a little interview with Melissa Satius, the new president of Duke Power and Light, and noticed that her 3 primary objectives are to electrify and pay more attention to, no, wait a minute, I'm getting my wires crossed, was resiliency and sustainability, and the modernization of the power grid. So it occurs to me that this might be a fabulous opportunity, Brad, for us to reconnect with the folks at Duke with regard to our partnership with them. And since if I'm thinking correctly, we are going to be the ones that are purchasing the vehicles on behalf of Jolly Trolley anyway, that we might be able to have them install an additional charging station for the trolleys at the new facility that Jolly Trolley wants to build.
Yeah.
And that would help to further reduce the cost. Maybe.
Well, exactly. Duke Power has been a great, or Duke Energy has been a great partner of PSTA all along in our electrification program. Essentially, I think almost all of our depot chargers that we have here at the facility that charge our electric buses overnight have been 100% paid for by Duke Energy. And I would imagine we can hopefully keep that magic going, and Rosemary can get a bunch of free chargers too at her new facility. That would be my goal.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Moving on to reports and correspondence. Brad?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Bob
sorry,
Clifford, if I could.
Go ahead.
I may have misunderstood what Commissioner Long said, but she said that PSTA is purchasing equipment for Jolly Trolley. That's not correct. We're totally reliant on our own resources to replace any equipment that we do. Certainly, the electric opportunities that are out there can be worked into the new contract. It's exciting. We'd love to be part of that process. But I did want to make it clear that we are solely responsible for any equipment that we put on the road, from maintenance, cost of fuel. The equipment itself is all funded through the business model that we currently have for Jolly Trolley. Also, for those new members, there's a lot of new members here since the last time we negotiated a contract with you all. Jolly Trolley is a 501c3. It was originally a concept of a bunch of business people in Clearwater. Over the past 40 years, that has not changed. We have a significant support from the entire community that allows us to operate kind of a unique situation. We are solely funded by the performances that we produce, both for PSTA and for the communities that we service. I look forward to the opportunity, as our board does, to be able to move forward with a new contract. I'd also like to share with you all Don Ewing, who was the North County chairperson for Greenlight Pinellas, a tireless advocate for public transportation in Pinellas County, a board member of our Jolly Trolley family, passed away from COVID several weeks ago. if you all could keep him in your prayers. Has supported PSTA to the utmost, and it's just a terrible loss for our community. So again, thank you all for listening to the proposal, and hopefully next month's board meeting we'll be able to come back with electric trolleys worked into the contract, and also a clearer understanding of exactly what we're looking for here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Anything else? Okay, reports and correspondence. Brad, do you have, and also any future meeting topics?
Yes, thank you. That was a good discussion, and so stay tuned next month for an electrifying presentation on Jolly Trolleys. In your packet, seems like, I can't believe we're already here, but we're already working on the FY 2022 budget, planning that. That will come to you ultimately for adoption in September. And as a draft in June, but the planning committee received a presentation on the assumptions that we're using, and that presentation and information is in your packet, so you can look at that. I want to thank the staff and BEEP for a fantastic pilot program on our autonomous vehicle in St. Petersburg, which has now ended. Now they are constructing the Grand Prix racetrack there, so AVA is no longer operating in St. Petersburg, but next stop is Dunedin. And you approved on your consent agenda today the interlocal agreement that we will have with the city of Dunedin to launch AVA Dunedin style in about a month from now. It's scheduled to go to the Dunedin Commission, and then next month you will approve the operating agreement for Dunedin, and then its final stop in Clearwater as well. So stay tuned for that. As Chair Gerard said earlier, we have had a really great last 3 Mondays here at PSDA, where the Community Health Centers of Pinellas have vaccinated some 325 employees, board members. I want to thank Commissioner Flowers for coming by and getting vaccinated at PSDA, and even family members of employees. And they seem to like us, so I think they'll maybe come back. Hopefully, if they get enough vaccines, they've said that they'll keep coming back. So that's been great for us. I don't think I mentioned, maybe I mentioned this last month, but I want to thank a number of the communities around that you represent for supporting our earmark request, our federal earmark request to the federal government, something that could benefit the Jolly Trolley even down the road, an earmark request for electric charging infrastructure in Clearwater and in St. Petersburg. I think this has a great potential by putting electric charging infrastructure in those 2 main places where our services, a lot of our routes begin or end, will really expand the ability for us to go electric in a big way on all of our routes. Right now, the electric buses are run on just a handful of routes that go down to St. Petersburg and over to basically mid-county, but they all come back here because the one charger we have is here en route. But I believe, thank you Pinellas County Commissioners for supporting a letter of support for that. City of St. Petersburg, Commissioner Driscoll, we got one from you and the mayor, double duty there. City of Clearwater has sent a letter of support. Maybe I'm forgetting. We got a whole bunch from Sierra Club and places like that too. Support that we're sending to Congressman Christ so that he can submit them then as one of his 10 earmark requests. Then I don't know exactly, but there's some kind of competition we'll have to go through then and have Congressman Christ on our side to advocate on our project's behalf. But I think we're putting in a really good show of support for this. And last but not least, before we meet again, and way before we meet again, we will be celebrating Earth Day. Earth Day is actually not until April 22nd, but in the spirit of what we've been talking about, our electric vehicles, we are going to be having those electric vehicles all around the county in the weeks leading up to Earth Day with a series of community events. I think our first one, is coming up next week. I want to thank Commissioner Flowers for joining me in somewhere, I'm forgetting where, somewhere in St. Petersburg. Oh, okay, at the museum, yeah. Where we're going to be highlighting public transportation as a sustainable way. And to your point, Commissioner Long, one of the things about equity, because public transportation serves everybody in our community. And then we have other events in, I think, Dunedin and other places that will be around the county with our electric vehicles and our other vehicles, talking about climate or equity and all these sorts of things in a series of events leading up to Earth Day. So that's very exciting. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business to discuss? Yes, Commissioner Long.
Yes, so I'm so excited to share this information with you. I can hardly contain myself. Since our last board meeting, you remember I told you that we were scheduled to have a conversation with the folks at the Federal Transit Administration. Well, we did, and in that conversation, there were several opportunities that arose as a result of the work that we're doing here at Psta and our vision. And I'm happy to share that we have a proposed listening tour scheduled with Secretary Buttigieg to come here the first week in May. So I hope as soon as we get that date firm on our calendar that you'll all join me, and I'm hopeful that we can get some of the folks from T-BARTA and maybe Forward Pinellas to show up and really host him in a magnificent way to absolutely give him a visual of our traffic issues in Pinellas County. So I'm excited about that, and I'm working with, as you know, I've told you before, I'm the chair of the Urban Caucus for the Florida Association of Counties, and we're working with them to ensure that he really gets a good visual of the issues we face in Florida and how vulnerable that we are with regard to our geographic location of a little island, a little peninsula on a peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico. And secondly, while I mentioned the article on the front page of the business section of the Times, I neglected to share, I hope you saw the one that was at the top of the page that focused on the new economic opportunities along the Deuces and Fifth Avenue. Yeah. And one of the primary focuses that caused the developer to pick that location to build this fabulous opportunity was the fact that there's so much focus on transit, and specifically talked about our Sunrunner line. I was just so proud to be able to tell myself, that's part of the work that we've been doing at Psta. So anyway, I thought that was really very interesting and informative, and I'm hopeful that you all saw it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? I just had one thing. Apparently, a couple of you have gotten emails from me asking you to go out and buy gift cards and send. Please don't, because it's not from me. But apparently that's something that's going around, so please be careful before you do something like that, because my husband got something very similar to that.
I have.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I apologize to everybody. It's not me.
Right.
I have another scam to report that I hope none of you are getting caught up in. And that was the phone call that was received in my household last week from Amazon fraud. I promise you, it's not from Amazon fraud. And the story was that somebody was trying to make a $999 purchase on my husband's credit card for a new iPhone. And while we did not fall for the entire thing, it did cause him to lose $500 in his account. So please be careful.
Wow.
Thank you.
Seems to be scam season, so please be careful. Yes, if you turn on your mic, I'll let you in, Commissioner. Go ahead.
April 10th, we're doing in Veterans Park in Gulfport, we're doing a memorial for a gentleman who was a POW in the North Korean Army in 1968 during the Pueblo incident. And he lived in Gulfport for many years, passed away in 2008. And it came to my attention last year, and we're laying a large plaque and doing a large ceremony with his relatives coming from all over the country. So anyone who would care to join us at Veterans Park at 10 a.m. on April 10th to honor Stephen Robin, please join us.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great job. Thank you.
Let's see.
Thank you, Richard Bennett and Deborah. Bye.
We have a breakout.
Hi.
Exciting news.
I know, I'm over the moon. So excited.
I might be in North Carolina in May, but I'm gonna fly back for that, so let me know what date that is.
Okay, I will.
Because I really wanna be here for that.
I think it's a great opportunity. Hello.
It is. Way to go. Thanks.
Thank you. Lots of good things happening.